Hello there, welcome along. It's time for the first semi-final of the Football 7-a-side at Rio 2016. And the only two former champions in the field will contest this one, Ukraine and the Netherlands. Expecting some terrific skill on show today. Ukraine winners in 04 and 08 have been in the last 4 Paralympic finals. And it's hotting up nicely. 32 degrees at just before 10 o'clock in the morning local time. Might not be the highest tempo, but some great technicians in both teams. If Ukraine do win this match, they will be the first team in Paralympic history to contest a 5th final. Winners of this one will play the winners of Iran against Brazil later, with the losers playing off for the bronze medal. Ukraine undoubtedly the big favourites here, not least because the last of the Netherlands' 3 titles was 20 years ago, and this is their first semi-final since then. They've done well to get here. Well, a small crowd making a big noise for the entrance of Ukraine and the Netherlands. Ukraine with a perfect record. They were really tested by both Great Britain and Brazil, but they've not been behind in this tournament yet. 10 goals, although intriguingly the leading goal scorer has been left out of the starting 7 today. Different story for the Netherlands, who conceded a late equaliser against the USA, and following that defeat to Iran, the Americans had the chance to overtake the Dutch in the table, and maybe they would have done if they'd taken their chances or had a little more good fortune against Argentina in the last game in Group B. So the Dutch in the end were quite relieved to get through, but in Thomas Klein-Luchtebelt undoubtedly have one of the stars of this competition. With Ukraine, it's all about the team play though, and the swiftness with which they move the ball. They are superb technicians.
Ladies and gentlemen, the anthem of Ukraine.
Anthems first, the Dutch in a moment, first Ukraine.
on, boys. The first of the semi-finals, Ukraine against the Netherlands.
Well, in a sense, the Dutch have nothing to lose. Such is the skill of this Ukraine team. So many people expect them to go on and win the gold medal. And the head-to-head record between these two teams does suggest that Ukraine might win well against the Dutch today. Huge experience in the Ukraine side, embodied really by their captain, Vladimir Antoniuk, the 37-year-old, at his 4th Paralympic Games, 2 gold medals, 1 silver, 15 years in the national team. But the youngest player in the Ukraine starting 7 today, Stanislav Podolski, is still older than the oldest in the Dutch side. Referee from Spain today, Hector Robas-Bondia. That's the lineup, which does not contain Artem Krasilnikov, the only player to have scored in all 3 of his team's group games at this tournament. He's the leading scorer in the competition with 4, but they're so confident in the ability of the squad, Ukraine, they can afford to leave him on the bench. Trushev is an excellent defender. Captain himself has got to 3 goals, Antoniuk. Strength on the bench. Karamanian came on at the start in the previous game against Brazil and did a super job. And Krasilnikov, there he is, coming towards Romanchuk there, has been one of the stars of the games, frankly. A couple of changes for the Netherlands from their 2-0 defeat to Iran in the last group game. Klein Luchtebelt inevitably comes back in. They rested him for the first half against Iran. And Jeroen Set, the number 2, who has played up front, returns in place of Jeroen Skytert. There's Klein Luchtebelt. He's just been the dominant force. Ilyas Viska is the other Class 8 player, striker, who may come on. But it's that man's team who are big favourites. In the recent past, they've beaten the Netherlands by 10 goals to 0. So what kind of plan can he come up with, Marcel Geestman? It's a big challenge. It's a big challenge for his team. We're expecting a highly competitive match and a match of the very highest standard. He's going to need to have a super game, Klein Luchtebelt, for the Dutch. He must be feeling that. The first semi-final of the football 7-a-side at Rio 2016. Can Ukraine in the blue reach the final for the 5th Games running and win a 3rd Paralympic title? Or will the Dutch spring an enormous surprise and turn them over here? The Dutch in the traditional all orange, with Ukraine there in their blue with yellow trim. The head-to-head record does not bode particularly well for the Netherlands. These teams met in the European Championship final a couple of years ago. Ukraine won by 3 goals to 2-0 that time. But this year, scorelines of 8-2, 4-1 and 10-0 in Ukraine's favour. Taras Dutko was late there on Minna de Vos. The veteran Dutko, who's been involved in the Ukraine squad in all of their 4 previous runs to the gold medal match. He's unique in that respect. Forward by Joey Mensah, but too close to Kostiantin Semashko. And here's Antoniuk for the first time. Now Podolski. And the first meaningful effort on goal from Ukraine, from Stanislav Podolski. He's the baby of the side at 29. So with Football 7 aside, not in the programme for Tokyo 2020, one does wonder if this will be the last Paralympic Games for many of this Ukraine squad. Minidevos taking on Dutko, and Dutko did well that time. Molotsov with the ball forward. Here is Antoniuk with Podolski to one side. 3-on-2 here for Ukraine. This is really dangerous, and Van Altena made a good save. The speed of the counter-attack there, causing the Dutch a big problem. And Romanchuk in the end not making the best of an opportunity. Perfectly played by Antoniuk. And Podolski with the clearest chance so far. In by Trushev to deny Jeroen set. Here's Romanchuk, lovely skill. Beautiful ball out to Antoniuk. Super first touch, and he nearly scored. Well, there just was not a touch out of place there from Ukraine. From beginning to end, from the moment Trushev won the initial tackle. That's what the Netherlands are up against. They have to keep it close for as long as possible. But then at the pre-Paralympic event in Spain in April and May, it was 1-0 to Ukraine at half-time, and they got 9 goals in the second half. Still, a different type of pressure in a Paralympic Games semi-final. Lovely turn by Dmytro Molotsov. Here's Taras Dutko. The Dutch already working hard in defence. Podolski. Trushev. Waiting for the angle to emerge for the pass. Molotsov, Antoniuk. Silkily done by Antoniuk. Molotsov. Antoniuk. Wasn't an option, so he came back. Oh, the block by Mensah was a good one. They must have strung 15 passes together there. And it wasn't just for show. Foul against Dan Dicken, who rather reached in. Important block for the Dutch. Went towards Podolski and he took it down well. Tried to find Romanchuk with the cross shot. All the hallmarks of a tough day for the Netherlands. They're going to have to defend incredibly well, and they're going to have to counter extremely efficiently. Klein Luchtebelt there star man, the number 4, hasn't been on the ball yet at all. And they simply have to get him involved somehow. He's had more than half the team's shots on goal in their first 3 matches. And he didn't play the first half against Iran, or that proportion would be higher. De Vos getting encouraged by the Dutch technical staff for following his man well and forcing them back. But Antoniuk has a knack of drifting into space. Or maybe that's the kind of good fortune the Dutch need. An extra defender in the shape of the referee. Here's Lars Konijn, the Dutch captain, up to Jeroen Set. That was a super turn. Here's De Vos. Klein Luterbelt is moving in front of him in the penalty area. De Vos wanted to try and beat Trushev, but not many have done that in these Paralympic Games. Klein Luterbelt quickly got 2 men around him. He's a left-sided player, Klein Luterbelt. And they'll try and close him down accordingly. Oh, lovely skill from the Dutch star man. But what options has he got? I mean, he didn't feel that there really was a good enough one there, and he was furious with De Vos. And now Podolski. And Klein Luterbelt came to tidy it up himself. Dutko had all the experience there to get into the right zone to stop that pass getting to Jeroen Set, and here they come again. Antoniuk, Molotsov, Dutko, space to advance if he wants to do so. There are no offsides in this form of the game, so no problem with that pass to the right. Now the turn. Dutko. Oh, splendid. It was only a matter of time. And the captain strikes first for Ukraine. 2 of their great Paralympic veterans combining. Dutko driving it in. And Antoniuk scores the first goal for Ukraine. They took their time again, but Dutko could spy that Antoniuk was right in front. And the accuracy of the drilled pass is perfect. Not much of a gap between Konijn and Van Altena, but he found it. Well, they only kept them out for 9 minutes. How many more might they add? Can the Netherlands really make a contest of it? Do you feel to some degree that their problems were encapsulated in that previous attack when Klein Luterbelt was looking to come forward and didn't quite feel he was well enough supported? Maybe this time they can get help to him. Molotsov with an excellent tackle. Podolski couldn't keep that in. Romanchuk, intelligent little layoff. Nothing complicated about it. Mostly short passes, good angles, good movement off the ball. It ended with a shot on goal from, what, 1.5 meters out. Molotsov. Dutko. Can he get to a 5th Paralympic final? Molotsov. Romanchuk. To attack on defence here. Molotsov again. Super movement from Ukraine. Tackle was by Joey Mensah. It was a good one on Molotsov. They need to be effective with those counters. Trushev now. Plenty of blue shirts forward here. Not that many orange. Antoniuk, Molotsov. Oh, splendidly done. And Van Altena did terrifically well. He was second favourite there, but he tipped that onto the post. He just had to take a touch because the pass forced him ever so slightly wide, Romanchuk. And he was trying to just hook it in. And you saw there the Dutch problem in a nutshell again. If they commit 2 or 3 to the counter-attack, then very quickly they can find themselves in desperate trouble. Molotsov swiftly away from Dickon. That was beautifully done. Good defending by Conine, who showed him onto his weaker side. Podolski tracking back very effectively for Ukraine. And they're so good at exploiting the spaces, usually. You can see Romanchuk on the near side throwing his arms up in the air. They expect to exploit those kind of chances all the time. The rules in this 7-a-side form of the game very similar to those for 11-a-side football, except that there is no offside and the players can roll the ball in with one hand from the touchline or throw it with 2 hands behind the head. Into Antoniuk. Beautifully set up for Molotsov. Conine made a good block. That will be a goal kick. Yeah, the referee has called the players over at the midway point of the first half for a hydration break. The temperature is so high. This happened in the last round of group matches as well. It's hot and it's exposed at the Diodoro. There's really very little shade. And highly sensible to allow the players to get some fluids on board. There's that block from Conine. Ukraine really good value for their 1-goal lead. You wonder in this situation what the coach might say to the players to try and get them to believe in their chances against a side to which they've lost on so many occasions and sometimes very heavily, and which I guess they all know is a superior team. What a job that must be. They got a little bit of help there. The Ukraine have moved the ball so well, dragging the Dutch defenders away, and they've got the 1 goal from Antoniuk, and they might have had a couple more. Football 7-a-side at the Paralympic Games for athletes with cerebral palsy. Some might have had a stroke or a brain injury. They're all classed between 5 and 8. 5 the most impaired, 8 the least. Teams can only have one Class 8 player on the field at any one time. That's Klein-Luterbelt for the Netherlands and Dutko for Ukraine. They have to have at least one player in either Class 5 or Class 6 on the pitch at all times. Molotsov is a Class 5 for Ukraine. Van Altena and Set are both Class 6s for the Dutch. And it kind of follows that most players are in Class 7 as a result of all that. Antoniuk. And they use the width and the full length of the pitch so intelligently, Ukraine. If you watch a lot of 11-a-side football, you'll find perhaps occasionally some of the angles that they look for, some of the passes that they look for, a little surprising, but it does make perfect sense. Quite a big pitch for 7-a-side. 70 metres long, up to 50 metres wide. Now Klein-Luterbelt up against Podolski here, and away from Podolski, and the cover from Trushev. And then it was Dickon who decided to hit it. But just the first little moment of anxiety at the back for Ukraine. Molotsov wide to Romanchuk. Now who will he pick out here? Antoniuk. Molotsov. Antoniuk again. Decides to go on his own. But he's been forced to go away from his favoured left side. Hot work for all the players. I should think it makes it all the more frustrating when you're chasing the ball for long periods. The Dutch have to try and string a few passes together, build some confidence here. Mina de Vos needs a bit of support here. Set has gone down the line. Here's Conine into Klein-Luterbelt. Conine in the penalty area. Conine into Klein-Luterbelt again. Conine continued his run. 3 up here for the Dutch with Klein-Luterbelt. Not sure what he was thinking there, really. De Vos. Klein-Luterbelt pulled away to the back post. Mensah neatly into Dickon. De Vos. Best move they've put together. Podolski getting in there to disrupt it. 9 minutes to half time. Are the Dutch going to make a match of this? De Vos was caught in about 3 minds there. In the end, he did exactly what they wanted him to do. And Trushev got caught in bother himself and has fouled Dickon. Well, uncharacteristic uncertainty here. A poor first touch. A shaky spell for Ukraine. Klein-Luke about to take it, and he sliced it. He sliced it. Klein-Luke Belt's ball in, towards your own set, who's recovered it here. Now Konijn. It was the Netherlands' best spell of the game, and Klein-Luke Belt trying to continue it. Goes for the return. Keeper's going to have to come. Samashko did well. Romanchuk. Here's Dutko. Molotsov's in space. Well, they'll take their time. Romanchuk. Molotsov. Now Podolski. Well played by De Vos. Romanchuk well challenged by Joey Mensah. Good clean tackle. Lars Konijn was well spotted by Klein-Luke Belt. Body language on from the Dutch captain there was again a little negative towards your own set up front. First change for Ukraine. First of their 3 substitutions. Ole Len has come on for Romanchuk. 5 minutes to half time still. Here is Len. Set got caught in possession by Trushev. Antoniuk arriving. Just on the stretch. But it's the first decent sight of goal Ukraine have had for a while. Great credit to the Netherlands for coming back into this match. When they conceded the opening goal, it looked like there might be plenty more to follow. Rather a poor touch from Len. And Set has found De Vos. 1-on-1 for De Vos, if he wants to try his luck. It's Dutko at the back. The defender with such vast experience for Ukraine. Well played by Lars Konijn. Bit by bit, the Netherlands are growing in confidence. I think the hot conditions are taking their toll. Both sides content to take a little time out. The Dutch team appearing at their 8th consecutive Paralympic seven-a-side tournament, more than any other nation. The only one they weren't involved in was the first one in 1984. They then won the next 3, but haven't been involved at this stage of the competition since the third of those triumphs in 1996 in Atlanta. It's been Russia and Ukraine who've been the dominant forces ever since then. Russia, of course, not allowed to compete here, leaving Ukraine as the standalone favourites. Russia and Ukraine have contested 3 of the last 4 finals. Ole Len for Ukraine. Last 2 minutes of the first half. Antoniuk just arriving at the back post. This is Podolski. Dutko, he's looking for Antoniuk, who's right in front of the goalkeeper there. He'd be pretty satisfied, the Dutch coach. Molotsov. Antoniuk making that run. Well watched by Konijn. Konijn and Mensah have had good games at the back for the Dutch. He's feeling the heat too. Sergei Ovcharenko. Beautiful take by Podolski. Here's Dickon. De Vos a little fortunate to escape. Konijn, super ball for Klein Luterbelt. 2-on-1 here. Klein Luterbelt wanted to go on his own. And he was well closed down. Ole Len at the other end for Ukraine. Comfortable enough for George van Altena. Last few seconds of the first half, that was as good an opportunity, I think, for the Dutch as they've had, really. Two minutes of added on time are being signalled by Jorge Barbizan, the 4th official, as Mensah is penalised for coming through the back of Molotsov. This was simple enough, I think. Decent piece of handling. This was the moment, really. And Dutko got his angles right, didn't he? Now can they work it here? Oh, they have! Beautifully done. Right on half-time as well. Ole Len doubles the lead. Second goal that will come as some relief to the favourites for the gold medal. The pass from Trushev was what did the damage. Klein Luterbelt was caught out. Podolski, perfect cross in. And really well taken at the near post by Len. Well, just how demoralising is that for the Dutch? Seconds away from half-time when they'd come back into this match so effectively. It'll be hard to take. The Ukrainian chances had dried up. But Trushev put enough pace on that pass out wide to catch Klein-Luchtebelt out, and they couldn't catch up from that point. Well, half-time in the end, and very satisfying for Ukraine. Podolski setting up Len. Antoniuk had got the first on 9 minutes. Trushev playing his part with that excellent pass, and it's heads down from the Netherlands and a shake of the head. They'd come back into it well, but the second goal has left them deflated at the interval. Half-time, Ukraine 2, Netherlands 0. Hot conditions. Tempo certainly dropped after the refreshment break. Still, they've managed 12 attempts on goal, Ukraine. Ball possession is not as clearly in their favour as it would have been for the first 10 minutes when they really did dominate. Difficulty for the Netherlands against such a fine counter-attacking team is coming from behind, particularly now with this 2-goal deficit. And you have to try and risk everything to try and get into the Paralympic final. That'll surely work further in Ukraine's favour. They've not been behind in this tournament yet, Ukraine. I wonder if they will be at any point. So far, so good for them. They are en route for the final. And any doubts the Netherlands might have provoked, fears allayed by that second goal, I'm sure. Think back to that 2-on-1 though that the Dutch had shortly before the second. Might still be thinking about that at the half-time interval. Antoniuk getting into good positions right from the start, and here Dutko found him right in front of goal. He's a no-fuss player, Antoniuk. He just turned around and went back to the centre circle. No great celebration, but a splendidly worked goal. Dutko firing in the cross, out of reach of Colin and co. And at this point it looked like Ukraine were going to score a hatful. They were cutting through time after time. That was a really good save from Van Altena. Second goal though, right before the interval from Ole Len. How are they going to find a way back? Hugely difficult for the Netherlands now, but it has been competitive. Can they provide a challenge for Ukraine in the second half? It's 2-0. The Ukraine lead at the break. So what can the Netherlands do to prevent Ukraine reaching a 5th consecutive Paralympic final in football 7-a-side? 2 Dutch goals would take us to extra time. There is provision for that and a penalty shootout if required to decide the finalist. The losing team will go into the bronze medal match. Players will have been grateful for some time in the shade during the half-time interval. So it's the Dutch who get us underway in the second half in their orange strip, trailing by 2-0. Antoniuk and Len with those goals. The second of them came in stoppage time at the end of the first period, after the Dutch had just threatened to get back into it somewhat. Ukraine had dominated the first 15 minutes or so and forced George van Altena in the Dutch goal into a couple of good saves, turned one onto the post. But it's the favourites who are on top. And the underdogs, I suppose you have to risk everything. Klein Luchtebelt, oh, that was a good ball in too. And they didn't get anybody across the goalkeeper there. Any shot that goes direct at goal from long range can be problematic because attackers can get into that area. There's no offside, so they can get in the goalkeeper's way. Sometimes they can get a touch on a long shot into the goal. Not on that occasion. Samashko with a poor clearance. It went straight to the Dutch danger man. And here's your own set. Klein Luchtebelt heading off into the centre, but you saw 5 blue shirts between he and his teammate. And he rightly made the quick calculation that the only way to go was back. Oh, it's neatly done by Set. What a good touch that was. And if only Minne de Vos had been a little more silky with his, maybe he could have broken into the space. But that's just the kind of play that the Dutch are hoping for. Set getting the ball into feet, holding it up really well. And runners off the front man to give him options, because sometimes he's looked a little isolated when he has got the ball under control. And that was a good interception coming back from Klein Luchtebelt before that pass got to Ole Len. Still Artem Krasilnikov, the Ukrainian player with 4 goals in the group stage. Not involved, but they've got options on the bench if they need them. That was a super little touch, wasn't it? Difficult ball to take on the run for Minne de Vos. It probably came slightly behind him. Len for Ukraine. Missed Molotsov with the pass. But there's Dutko. Now Antoniuk, the captain. He's on 4 goals now as well. Not sure the referee and the assistant ref on the far side were all together convinced, but corner is the call. I don't think Coach Ovcharenko will look satisfied until there are at least 4 or 5 goals in the back of the Dutch net. Podolski. Molotsov to Antoniuk. And it went to Len. Mensah electing to go long towards both Klein-Luchtebelt and Jeroen Set. Mensah again, up to De Vos. Podolski always looked like the favourite there, and Dutko was just caught. It's that early free kick into a dangerous area. Conine, I think, was trying to get across in front of it. Just didn't time it right. Still 25 minutes to go. Conine had an unorthodox grip of Len's leg there. Again, using the full width of the pitch, and the Dutch defence is stretched. And Podolski couldn't find another blue shirt. He said the team's ambition before the tournament began, the Dutch coach, was to try and get into the semi-finals and have 2 chances to win a medal. I think by implication, they'd be very happy to come away with a bronze. Len just allowed Mensah a chance to get in. It was a good challenge, and now there's 3-on-2 here. De Vos, Antoniuk getting back to make it a third defender, and wasn't that vital. He spotted there was danger, the Ukraine captain. Came herring back. Klein-Luchtebelt. That was a little hidden hope. Well, he doesn't make a fuss, Vladimir Antoniuk, but his reading of the game at both ends is exceptional. And because he reads it so well, you seldom see him need to reach full pace as he did in that last bit of defending. It always looks as if it's happening at a controlled pace for Ukraine. But it's able to be like that because they're so technically good. There's definitely anxiety with that last counter, but he knew exactly where to be. Klein-Luchtebelt, De Vos with the run in behind. They do accept that he's the star man and most likely to get the goal, the Dutch players. But sometimes you wonder how much trust Klein-Luchtebelt has in his teammates. Mensah, he's had an effective game at the back for the Dutch. Out by Dutko. Antoniuk, and now Podolski. And Len making the extra man. Antoniuk's in the centre. Ooh, Len decided he could go on his own. He was just caught in 2 minds ever so slightly. That's their clearest sight of the Dutch goal in the second half. Well, Jeroen Set is being replaced here by Gerard Bambacht. He is 17 years of age, and this is his Paralympic Games debut. He was not involved in the group stage, but the coach has called him for the semi-final, with the Dutch team 2-0 down. Klein Luterbelt with an excellent turn, and the cover provided by Trushev. They do have one another's backs, this Ukraine team. Here was the chance for Len. You could see Antoniuk making really good ground. To be very careful with a back pass like that coming straight at goal. This is the 13th match now to be played on this same pitch. It's not quite as flat as it was at the beginning. Molotsov. Here's Antoniuk. Len, oh, you could see what he was trying there. If they had got it to Molotsov, he had support there. Always trying to move it first time if they can. Interception by Trushev again. Like Antoniuk at their fourth Paralympics together. Saved by Van Altena, but it came right out. And Mensah to the rescue for the Dutch. Save came right to Molotsov, and it was going in. Well, it's 2-0. There's a bit of hope for the Netherlands, I think. Third goal might just see them off. Ukraine conceded late on against Brazil in the group match from 2-0 to 2-1, and it was a bit anxious at the end. Well watched by Konijn. It's a real feat of concentration, this, for the Dutch players. Molotsov found the angle to Antoniuk. Len's waiting. Trushev was deflected. Will be a corner. Taras Dutko, he's going to try his luck too. It's a stinging effort. Van Altena did well to get it away to an orange shirt. Molotsov, first time into Antoniuk, and it's opening up now. Antoniuk, beautifully taken. And that is the third goal that surely seals Ukraine's place in yet another final. The captain's second goal of the game, and you knew from this position he wasn't going to miss. Delightfully placed finish on the left side from Antoniuk, right into the corner. There's never much fuss, but he's a delightful player. It's his fifth goal of the competition. Man who scored both goals for Ukraine in their win over Russia in the 2008 final. Edhar Karamanian has come on for Molotsov. This is Podolski. Now Antoniuk. Dutko. Still Dutko. And for 4, it was Podolski. And all they're going to get is a corner, although he thinks an arm was involved. Let's have a look. Podolski's effort. Well, Mensa's pulling away from the ball, really. Trushev. Well, it was just too tempting, wasn't it? Just too tempting. One or two marks and bruises on the shins of Molotsov, but he looks in reasonable condition. Edhar Karamanian's a really hard-working, athletic player. And having just come on, he'll get the benefit of a little break to get a drink as well. He's got the same sort of almost never satisfied demeanour as the coach, Antoniuk. But he must have taken great pleasure from this. It had opened up for the 2-on-1 really, and the Dutch defenders knew that Len was waiting, and so hesitated a little bit to get to Antoniuk, and that allowed him the extra time he needed. Now, I think they realise it's not going to be their day now. I'm watching for the hint of a smile. Well, the last time they met, Ukraine won 8-2 at a Three Nations tournament in Arnhem in the Netherlands in June. And they were 5-0 up after 23 minutes. So the Dutch players know that it could have been, it has been worse. They've been competitive today. They have made it difficult at times. But there is a gap between the sides. There's no denying that. And a final against either Brazil or Iran will be fascinating, because it's really only Russia who've been able to challenge Ukraine over the course of the last decade or more. But Brazil ran them pretty close in the group and look an improving side. And Iran are very capable ball players as well. Here's Antoniuk looking perhaps for a hat-trick. Goalkeeper knew he was going to be busy today. Fairly straightforward save. Guido Floors will come on for Minna de Vos. Had one or two nice moments, de Vos, but it was hard work for him down that left-hand side. Felt like the Ukrainian defenders had him well marshalled. Karamanian. Neatly into Podolski. Karamanian again, lovely angle out to Antoniuk. Podolski by the goal line, here he is. Len waiting in the centre. Trushev to Dutko. Ten minutes left then, and Ukraine set fair to get through to the Paralympic final for the 5th time in a row. Karamanian with the ball in. Blocked by Lars Konijn for the Dutch. Ukraine look in the mood to turn it on here. Trushev trying to go all the way himself. He's just destabilised by a challenge. But it's coming back now all the time. I think they want to finish this off with a flourish, the Ukraine side. Antoniuk's got 2 goals already. Karamanian into Len. Beautifully taken, always unlucky. What a good first touch. Set himself up perfectly for the shot. Because it was fired into him. Just falling away, wasn't he? Ole Len thought that the tackle had come back off Klein Luterbelt, who they've kept largely under wraps. He hasn't been able to combine effectively with any teammates, Klein Luterbelt. Floors with the corner. Oh, super header. And what an excellent save that was. Lars Konijn glanced it beautifully goalwards, and Semashko with a save of the game perhaps. It all happened very quickly in real time. Bambacht with the corner. Oh, the goalkeeper was struggling that time. Konijn. Ukraine just had numbers back in the way. Lovely ball in. Here's Antoniuk for Ukraine. Karamanian just checking and then setting off into the space, but for once the pass is misplaced. Well, one wonders if Krasilnikov is entirely 100% fit. He's going to sit on the bench throughout this semi-final, it appears. Been one of the stars of this Ukraine team. But I guess the big star is the team itself. Karamanian. Oh, lovely pass into Trushev, who was hoping that somebody was going to run into the centre so he could lay it off for the strike. Like all good teams, they are demanding of one another, urging each other to be better than they already are. Just a little breeze out there, which will be of some relief to the players, because it's searingly hot today. He wanted Podolski to make more of a run in. Yeah. Can't think of a Ukrainian player who's performed a fancy trick today. It's all about keeping the ball moving. That's not really what they're about. If they did meet Brazil again in the final, it would be a clash of styles. Joey Mensah getting a little hand from the crowd. He's had another good game at the back for the Netherlands. Here's Karamanian. Now Antoniuk. Got the first goal in the 9th minute. And then the second, well into the second half in the 44th. With a goal from Len in between in first half stoppage time. Antoniuk, oh, lovely disguise on the pass. And Podolski denied by Van Altena again. He hasn't scored yet at these Paralympic Games, Stanislav Podolski, and you can see he's quite desperate to do so. Again, an excellent first touch. Goalkeeper read it well. And Bogdan Kulinic is going to come on for Ukraine, and that means that all 14 members of their squad have now been involved. Peter Koy is going to come on for the Dutch. Klein Luchtebelt has not been able to work the magic today. Frustrating morning for Klein Luchtebelt. Peter Koy was part of the Dutch side that finished 5th in London 4 years ago. They're going to do better than that this time. Antoniuk. Oh, stinging shot. Can the Dutch find a consolation in the last couple of minutes here? They certainly threatened from those two corners a short time ago. Conine's header forcing that good save from Simashko. Here's Ole Len. Another decent effort. In truth, the Ukrainian 4th goal looks much more likely. All of the Ukrainian starting 7 today, bar one, in their 30s. Antoniuk at 37, the goalkeeper 35, Dutko 34, Trushev 33. And the next Paralympic 7-a-side competition is at least 8 years away, because they're not on the programme for Tokyo in 2020. So I think we should enjoy this Ukrainian team while it lasts. There are plenty of young players coming through. Krasilnikov being the most obvious example. Here's Trushev. Just couldn't collect it. Krasilnikov on the bench today is 25. Goalkeeper Kulinic, who's just come on, is 24, so one or two. But this generation of dominance, well, who knows? They certainly want to get, and they are going to get to a 5th final. They want a 3rd Paralympic title, a 3rd gold medal. Might be a whole set of different names when 7-a-side football returns. Here's Karamanian. Can they put a seal on it with a 4th goal? Dutko. He was driving it goalwards, knowing that Podolski was right in front. Kui will go for the return here. Dickin was just blocked off. Trushev's not entirely sure that he did an awful lot wrong. Seemed a soft one. Konine with the ball in. Well, whenever there's been danger, Dutko has been there to mop up for Ukraine. Another unfussy player who does everything right. Here's Podolski, lovely dummy. Oh, splendid pass. What a lovely goal. And it will end with a hat-trick for Vladimir Antoniuk, the captain. It's the final kick of the game. And Ukraine sealing their dominance right at the end. The perfect full stop on an efficient display. And exactly the right ball from Podolski to the captain. And it's lovely when you can finish goals off from that kind of range. This dynasty of Ukrainian dominance continues. They're into a 5th straight Paralympic final. Glorious goal. The gap between the two sides today was sizable. Can Ukraine win a 3rd Paralympic gold medal? They are into the final. They have beaten the Netherlands by 4 goals to 0. Well, you'd love to be able to hear and understand that conversation between captain and coach, pondering what could have been even better about Ukraine's performance today. But there you go, 29 attempts on goal, 15 on target. That's 1 attempt every 2 minutes pretty much, in sweltering conditions against a highly competent Dutch side. But the gap was fairly large. And Ukraine will face Iran or Brazil in the Paralympic final. The Dutch will go into the bronze medal match against the losers of that 2nd semi-final. But a hat-trick for the captain, and he is now the leading scorer in the competition with 6 goals. And one wonders if anybody will catch him now. 2 tap-ins today, but it's the team working the ball into such good positions and knowing when to play those key passes. No surprise to anybody who's watched this tournament that Ukraine are through to the gold medal match. Many thought right from the start that they would win it. It'll be intriguing to find out what kind of a challenge the winners of the 2nd semi-final can provide. Ukraine only beat Brazil 2-1 in the group stage after all. And if the home crowd are involved in the final, who knows? Comfortable win for Ukraine. Yeah, he was the star, the Ukraine captain, with 3 goals in a 4-0 triumph. Ukraine are in the gold medal match once again, the 5th Paralympic Games running. What a period of domination. Who will they play in the final? We'll find out later. It's finished Ukraine 4, Netherlands 0.